Dum-dee-dum. And we are recording. Guess what, folks? It's a Sunday. Yes, it fucking is. Time for a bit of what's up. Been a while since I've done one of these. The reviews have been coming back thick and fast. The UK vape show's back as well, but it's actually been a while since I've sat down and done a what's up. And the biggest reason for that is there's not much to talk about. There really isn't. The end of this year, kind of December-ish, more than likely going into the beginning of 2023, to be honest, right? But the end of this year going into the beginning of 2023, there was supposed to be, and the run-up, which for all intents and purposes was supposed to be starting at the end of this month, beginning of October, there was supposed to be stuff happening in the UK vape scene to do with the UK government, and then Boris Johnson goes and resigns. Now everything is basically up in the air. Liz Truss is the new Prime Minister for the people outside the UK that don't pay attention to politics in the politics within the UK. Boris Johnson is no longer the Prime Minister. He resigned a while ago, actually, or stood down, should I say, a while ago, due to problems, shall we say. And Liz Truss took over, and Liz Truss then went on to essentially bring in a new cabinet. There's one or two people remaining from Boris Johnson's time, but the health secretary, everybody surrounding the health secretary's all changed, and the priorities of the UK government changed along with it. There is no clue at all, none whatsoever, about the direction that the UK government is going to be taking with regards to electronic cigarettes, and whether the current administration under Liz Truss is going to go ahead with the planned redraw of the Tobacco and Regulated Products Directive, Tobacco and Related Products Regulations, or TRPR, right? Can't remember the right name for it. I keep thinking TPD, but that's over in Europe now. But there's no idea whether the current administration under Liz Truss is going to go with the plan that was laid down by Boris Johnson. Well, not so much Boris Johnson, but Boris Johnson's health secretary, which was for essentially an entire redraw of the TRPR, turning it into the TRPR2 by summer recess of Parliament in 2023. That's all up in the air now. In fact, there's a whole load of things up in the air right now because of the new Prime Minister and new administration that's currently running the UK government. Add on top of that the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, and everything is up in the air. Everything is up in the air. It's been an interesting month this month. Been a very interesting month this month. Not just because of the change in government, but what the future is going to hold for the UK under King Charles III. We're going to have to get used to saying that. We are. King Charles III. We are going to have to get used to saying that. It sounds odd. It sounds odd. Instead of the Prince of Wales, or Charles the Prince of Wales, it's now King Charles III. That's weird. That is weird. There has been no kind of word from the All-Party Parliamentary Group, which again is, for all intents and purposes, most of the APPGs, the All-Party Parliamentary Groups, are also on hold until the direction the current government wants to go is laid down. There's been no word from the APPG to do with vaping, or electronic cigarettes. It's not called the APPG on vaping, it's called the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Electronic Cigarettes and Tobacco Harm Reduction. I think that's their full name from what I remember. There's been no word from them about what the future holds. They're basically on hold now. So the Science and Technology Commission that gets its info from the APPG, any meetings that were timetabled to take place at the end of October, beginning of November of this year, from what I heard, that's when the meetings were supposed to take place. I don't think they're going to go ahead now. No one knows what the current health secretary and what Liz Truss's stance is on electronic cigarettes. The rumours are, and again it's only rumours, but the rumours are, for all intents and purposes, the current health secretary may end up taking the stance of, oh, I've just nudged the camera, hold on, may end up taking the stance of essentially carrying on Boris Johnson's work, or the predecessor in the healthcare office, carry on their work and to see it through. But no one knows what Liz Truss, the Prime Minister, wants to actually do. And if you look at what Liz Truss has done or said, or in some cases lack of mention of electronic cigarettes, no one knows if she's for or against vaping, because she's always kept her cards pretty close to her chest when it came to vaping and electronic cigarette usage in the United Kingdom. But she was a staunch supporter of what the UK government were trying to do to cut down and get rid of smoking by the generation growing up in 2030. And that whole plan that the UK government had in place for a smoke-free generation by 2030, it included this, and Truss was fully supportive of it. If she had any doubts of vaping, she would have said it then and there, but she didn't. So the odds-on bet is she's for vaping, but she hasn't come out and said it. There's a lot of things up in the air right now. There is a lot of things up in the air right now, and because there's no news that's basically coming out of the UK to do with vaping, the entire premise of the What's Up is kind of shot to hell, because there's fuck all to talk about, folks. From the hardware side of things, it's pod, AIO, pod. AIO. Oh look, a dual battery box mod. Yay! Pod. That's what the releases have been like, and that's the reason the reviews that came out this week, it's been mostly pods. And the reviews that are going to be coming out probably for the next couple of weeks is, again, mostly pods. There's a couple of good kits that came in from Geek Vape, but they're under NDA right now, so they're not getting released probably until the end of this month. Yeah, pod. Could be worse, it could be disposable, but I don't review them anymore, so you won't find any more disposable reviews in this channel, folks. So, that's basically it. As for the channel, things are slowly starting to fall back into place again. The UK vape shows came back. That 3.5 weeks I had off, it was metformin. Type 2 diabetic, as a lot of you know. The metformin was not reacting all that well to some of the stomach medicines that I'm taking, so that 3.5 weeks that I took off, I was basically being shifted onto different various medications to do with the stomach problems that I'm suffering. They managed to hit on a better combo of medicines for the stomach than I was the ones that I was on, that don't react badly to the metformin that I'm taking. That's why I took that 3.5 weeks off, folks. Now and again the stomach problems do flare up, but it's only for a couple of days, and it's not like for a whole fucking week like it was before. So things are getting back to normal again. Next week, now, next Monday, this coming Monday, which is the calendar 19th, is a bank holiday for the funeral of the late Queen Elizabeth II. So this bank holiday is going to be a bit different to other bank holidays in the UK, because most places are actually going to be closed for this bank holiday, including a lot of the big supermarkets. The local public transport, in some cases there's going to be no public transport running at all, or in other cases there is going to be a severely cut down and restricted public transport. So I'm just going to stay in the house, fuck it. This is a small town I'm in. I had a look at Stagecoach's timetable. A lot of the services are simply not going to be running, and I'm too lazy to walk to the fucking studio, because I'm old. Yes. So I'm taking Monday off. So next week's reviews are gonna be mostly put up closer to the weekend. Because I wasn't in the studio last Friday either, and Friday is normally when I edit and spit out the encoded review to upload on Monday. But what's going to be happening next week is instead I'm going to be encoding I'm going to be encoding and editing the reviews on Tuesday to upload on Wednesday. So it's going to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday that the reviews are going to be going up. Only 3 reviews next week, folks. I don't have the time to slot in 4 or 5 this time around because I'm going to be a bit pushed for time. On top of all that, the little storage cupboard office thing that I was basically using rent-free for all intents and purposes, the landlord wants that back now because apparently there's a new renter that took interest in that very, very tiny office space that's right at the back of the corridor. So I'm having to find space in the current office, the big one, for all the junk that was sitting in the small one. So yeah, Monday and Tuesday next week is going to, well, not Monday because I'm not going to the office on Monday. Tuesday and Wednesday next week is going to be fun. Trying to find spaces to cram all that stuff in the current studio. There's loads of space underneath the tables, underneath the desks that I've got lining the walls. So I'm probably going to cram a lot of it under the desk. But yeah, next week is going to be rather busy for me. It is. Anyway, what are you doing? There we go. Apart from that, that's basically it, folks. For the people that were hoping I would have been going to the UK Vapor Expo during the first weekend of October, the answer is basically no. I've already cancelled the hotel room. I've cancelled the hotel room already. Simply can't afford it. That's basically what it comes down to. I simply cannot afford it. The trip that I'm taking during October to an e-liquid manufacturer and nicotine extractor, the trip's been pushed back to the end of October instead because the marketing team for that company are actually going to be at the UK Vapor Expo, and then they're going to another expo, I think in Central Europe. I don't know what one it is, but they're going to another smaller trade-based expo in the middle of October, and they won't be back in time for me going to their place in the middle of October, which was the date I was originally supposed to be going. So the trip to that nicotine extractor and white label e-liquid manufacturer has been pushed back to, I think, the last week of October. Look at the calendar, Vic. I'm sure it's the last week of October. Yeah, it's the last week of October, the 24th to the 28th. It's the full last week of October. So I'll be spending a bit of time next month back and forth with that company to plan things out, to see what they want from me and what I want to do with them. So it's going to be a bit of give and take. Essentially, most of season 3 of ECig 101, which is going to be all about DIY liquid mixing and e-liquids in general, is going to be wrapped around that visit. It's going to be wrapped around the visit, how e-liquids are made, what this company thinks about the future of e-liquid manufacturing in the UK, and more importantly, not delving too deep into it because obviously there's trade secrets, but nicotine extraction from tobacco, how's it actually done? How long does it take? It's the basic questions that new vapors essentially want to know. How is the liquid made? What goes into the liquid? Where does the nicotine come from? The basic 3 questions to do with liquids, and I want to answer that in season 3 of ECig 101. Of course, before season 3 of ECig 101 actually comes out, season 2 of ECig 101 has to actually be released beforehand. What with all the stuff that's been going on, season 2 of ECig 101's been pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. There is only really 2 more episodes that I need to record. It's a 10, well, is it 9? I think it might be 9 because I think I cut out one of the episodes in the middle because it was kind of pointless. It's either a 9 or 10 episode season for season 2 of ECig 101. There's only 2 more episodes to record on my side, and I've got all the footage sitting on the hard disk ready to upload. What I may end up doing is I may end up uploading them instead of 1 upload a week. It may end up being 2 uploads a week. So the first upload will be episode 1 and 2, then it'll be 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9 and 10, which means it will basically cover about a month and a bit, which will then run in, hopefully, to the beginnings of the release of season 3 of ECig 101. But with all this stuff that's been happening as of late, it's been a bit tough to actually sit down and find the time to edit it, because there's a lot of footage. That's one of the neighbour's dogs, that figures. But there's a lot of footage that's going into season 2 of ECig 101, because it's all about, it's all about mostly single battery and dual battery box mods that come with stock coil sub-ohm tanks. The advanced vaping, not the hobbyist. That's going to be season 4. After the e-liquid stuff's covered in season 3, but it's mostly about your smart kits, your Vaporesso kits, that kind of thing. The big difference between that and all-in-ones that I'm also going to be covering during season 2 as well. So it's going to be the kind of stuff that you're seeing on the shelf of your local vape shop. Not the pod kits, not the disposables, the next step up from pods and disposables. That's what I'm going to be covering. There's a lot of footage though, because we're covering a whole load of stuff to do with practically everything, because there was even a section recorded for mouth to lung stock coil tanks. There was a section recorded for restrictive direct to lung, full direct to lung, the difference between the various mesh coils that manufacturers are making. What is the difference between the mesh coils, and is there any really difference at all between the mesh coils when you get to the fucking huge stock coil sub-ohm tanks with a big bore down the middle? What do the various menu functions do on your typical standard single or dual battery box mods? The basics. It's essentially covering the basics of what season 2 is going to be all about. And the whole point of ECig 101 is not for the people watching this video, the people that already know how to run these smart kits. Again, it's for the new vapor. It's essentially a continuation of season 1. And the whole premise of season 1 and season 2 running into season 3 is to get the new vapor enough knowledge in order to watch season 4, which is about the hobbyist side of vaping, rebuildable tanks, rebuildable drippers, mechs, squonks, that kind of thing, to get them interested in what's coming into season 4 without being scared about DIYing coils and all the rest of it. The whole thing's been planned out. Folks. Anyway, that basically covers it. Oh, what am I vaping on? I have got the .mod.aio, and inside the .mod.aio I need to fill this borrow tank up, the Pandora .rba sitting in here with some rather nice, here we are, Simply Leaf Tennessee Dark Fire Cured naturally extracted tobacco, and it's fucking gorgeous. It really is. 18mg freebase, that's a bit of a throat kick. The usual G-Class with its peeling paint at the... See that? Look at that. Peeling paint in the back of the G2. It started happening about 4 weeks ago and it's not stopped ever since. Blaze RT sitting on top that needs filled. I have got the other Yeehee SX Mini Mod. I've got the SL2 obviously with the Blotto single coiler sitting on top, and this is filled with the Black Vine. Oh, this has just been recoiled and rewicked. Couple of, as a new alien, 5-core alien sitting in that, and I've just recoiled and rewicked this. Tank's almost empty. There's enough there for a couple of pulls. Hold on. Oh, you can't beat a fresh set of coils with fresh wicks in a rebuildable tank, folks. I've got the peach custard in here. Dual triple core fused Clapton. Just nice and simple fused Claptons in the Blaze RT. The Blaze seems to prefer simpler coils instead of advanced, because I've noticed when I popped in a couple of 5-core aliens in here, the big chunky aliens that I usually put in the Blotto, this tank got very, very hot, very, very quick. And the worst thing you can do with an RTA is put coils in there that turn the tank into an oven. Because here's the thing, the chamber inside, which is the chamber in here, right, the chamber that's covering the coils essentially, if that gets roasting hot, that heat spreads out to your liquid, and you essentially turn your tank into a cooker. You do. You turn your tank into a cooker, which then starts to cook the liquid that's sitting inside. This is why you've got to try and keep tanks as cool as possible, especially the bigger tanks that hold like 20 mil, like your Steam Crave tanks. Got to keep them as cool as possible. Sure, put in huge fuck off chunky coils if you want to, but you better vape that tank fucking dry, and not sit there and take 5 or 6 pulls like the fucking tank turn into an oven, then put your tank down and let it sit there for 10 minutes while your liquid's cooking in the tank. That's what you've got to watch for with tanks like this. It's not much of a problem with the smaller tanks that you can basically empty, literally vape the fucker dry in 5 minutes, but it turns into a problem with the bigger tanks. The hotter that tank gets, the more likely you are to alter the flavour of your tank by cooking the liquid sitting around the chamber. Something you've got to watch for. Yep. Anyway. Peach custard. And I don't dare vape on that again because the tank is practically dry. There's no first looks because all the stuff that I got in, that I think I mentioned in one of the reviews this week, was all stuff from Geek Vape. And it arrived and I went, oh, look at all these shiny things. Some of them were pods, right? But some of them weren't. Some of them were actually full kits. And then I got an email a day after saying, by the way, Vic, don't mention anything about those kits because we will give you the date of the release. And I'm like, oh, fucking seriously? So I don't have anything for first looks. So instead of the first looks, we're going to go straight to the box away. So, box away time. For the people that don't know, there is ways to basically support Vaping with Vic. Pardon me, shouldn't have slugged that tea down, that was a mistake. Now I'm full of gas. Mind you, people say that I'm full of gas all the time, but yeah, now I really am. I'm probably going to end up burping for a lot over that. This is what I get for slugging tea. Never drink tea quickly, folks. It's not good for you. Yeah, anyway. All the reviews, if you're relatively new to the channel, all the reviews are not recorded in the house because there's no fucking room in here, essentially. They're recorded in an office that I rent out just outside the town centre. It's an office about the same size, slightly bigger probably than this bedroom, right? But there's enough space in there to allow me to have essentially a full recording studio permanently set up. So I'm renting a studio, and that rent has the electricity, and oh boy, is the rent going to go up probably next month because of the whole cost of living stuff that's going on. But yeah, the rent also includes the gas and electricity, heating and electricity and stuff, so it's only one payment that I need to make. But everything taken from Patreon, Subscribestar and the YouTube members essentially helps keep the business, essentially, because I'm self-employed, of Vaping with Vic ticking along. As long as there's enough there for the rent and any extras like new camera equipment. I'm actually thinking of saving up for maybe a newer DSLR because those Canons, they're showing their age now. They are starting to show their age. But yeah, anything you can help, even £1 a month, because that's the lowest tier, from what I remember anyway. That's the lowest tier for Patreon. The lowest tier for YouTube members, I think, is £2 a month. But every little helps as the old saying for a certain advert in the UK goes, and basically it all adds up. It essentially all adds up. If 10 people sign up for the £1 tier, that's a tenner a month. You know, and it all definitely adds up. There is perks to joining Patreon, Subscribestar, or the YouTube members. You essentially get to look at the reviews, in some cases 5 days before the review goes to the public. So what I tend to do is on Monday or Tuesday afternoon, all the reviews get uploaded. Sure, you will only get to see the Wednesday review 24 hours before it gets released, but the Friday and Saturday review, you get to see it 4 or 5 days before it gets released. You also get to see the first looks, the first close-ups of an item as it comes in some cases a whole week before it goes up onto the Sunday What's Up, which is what you're watching right now. And of course, you get automatically entered into the box away at the end of the What's Up. So there isn't 2 items or 2 separate packages, it's only one, because I'll be honest, I forgot to pick up a second package because I was leaving the office on Wednesday afternoon and I went, oh, better pick up something for the What's Up vlog, and only picked up enough for one single package. So up for grabs to one lucky person. We've got the Blaze Solo RDA, fucking phenomenal little dripper this. If you've got a single battery squonker, great little RDA. We've got the Mike Vapes and Thunderhead Creations Blaze Solo RDA. And to go with it, we've got the Lost Vape Quest Centaurus Q200 dual battery box mod kit. You can ditch the tank and put the dripper on top instead. So there we go, this little fella. And this big fella is going to one lucky person in the draw. And there we go. Everyone's name is already listed on random.org. This is everyone from Patreon, Subscribestar, and the YouTube members. We're going to hit randomise, and the winner is Andrew Walters or Waters? Walters. Andrew Walters. Now, Andrew, if you're a member of Patreon or Subscribestar, you don't need to do a thing. I will be contacting you. If, however, you're a member of the YouTube member system, there is no way for me to directly contact you because for some fucking reason, YouTube's got rid of the messaging system. And yeah, it's a nightmare trying to contact someone who's actually signed up for YouTube members. So what you need to do, Andrew, if you're a member of YouTube members, you need to contact me using the email address that you signed up for originally with the YouTube account that you've signed up for on the YouTube members. But Andrew, if you're a member of Patreon or Subscribestar, you don't need to do a thing. I'll be contacting you in the coming few days. Anyway, that basically covers it for... Get rid of you. That basically covers it, folks, for the box away. We'll be back to 2 items a week for the next 4 or 5 weeks, actually. Next week, rolling forward to make up for the weeks that there hasn't been a What's Up going on. Can't vape in that because that tank's empty. To make up for the What's Ups that haven't been going on. I think that basically covers it, folks. I think it does. Oh, fresh coil and wick, that black vine. Anyway, that basically covers it. Remember, next week the reviews are going to be up slightly later because next Monday I'm going to be off because it's a bank holiday for the late Queen Elizabeth II's funeral. So basically everything's going to be shut down, including public transport. And then on Tuesday and Wednesday, that's the 2 days I'm going to be using to get the reviews together, edited, and then uploaded onto the channel. So the reviews next week will be up slightly later than normal. That's it from me, folks. As always, thanks for watching. Have a good one.